All right, coaches, now another subject that we want to delve into that ties in so well with the Check With Me system is an area that we call no-huddle offense. It's something that has suddenly become very popular in the National Football League. I know you've seen it done by the Cincinnati Bengals and a lot of the controversy that's evolved over it because of the problems that defensive coaches have in getting personnel on the field. I think it's an excellent tool to have available in your offense so that when you get in a situation and you have a defensive coordinator, a defensive team that you're playing against that gives you multiple sets, then you're able to control so much of that by keeping your offense on the field and not allowing them to make the changes. So what we're going to talk about now is the one and really only primary purpose that I feel for the no-huddle offense, and that's to keep the defense off balance. Now, I think you've got to make a decision when you go no-huddle. The key decision in my mind is what formation you use, and I think that formation is basically predicated so much on the kind of personnel you have. We felt, and we were doing this in college in about 1978, the no-huddle situation. I recall opening a game against a team in our league that was a multiple set. We started the ball game with the no-huddle offense, kept them in a vanilla 34 defense, were able to take the ball and go right down the field and score. And I know what it did, talking to their coaches after the game, it totally threw them off balance. They're saying, wait a minute now, we can't do all the things we plan to do to the California offense, and screwed up their entire thinking of the way they planned. If, say, a team had, for instance, had their first 15 defenses like some teams do offensively, all of a sudden that's out the window. So what I'm saying now, that pick out the formation that best suits the personnel you have. Now, we felt, even taking that a little bit further, not necessarily as much personnel as what formation balanced the defense the best. Remember when we talked about the one-back set, being able to balance the field. This formation, the two tight end, two wide receiver offense, in our thinking was the best one we could go with. We had a couple good tight ends. We had a great running back. So now, this formation allowed us to run both right and left. There is no strong or weak in this situation other than talking about hash marks and being into that sideline. We were able to run a balanced passing attack. We knew now in this situation that wherever you place that strong safety, that was the key for us in which way we were going to go with this offense. So this formation was best for us. I think it's a great formation to run no huddle. The other thing you can do if you've got a couple excellent running backs or a running back that's an excellent receiver is just jump in to that double wing set. This now being a running back, you got that fullback or another running back type guy right there. Again, not much different. It's still a fairly balanced offensive set where we can move this guy around from the I position back, but have a guy that's flexible enough, a big back like a Chuck Muncie type guy. And again, you're talking about a great one, but if you've got a big back that's as big almost as a tight end, catches the ball, will do a good job blocking, plays off this side, use this set. It's not much different than the two tight. I think the two tight end one's a little better run formation for you because you got those two big tight ends up on the line. Now, if you want to just come out throwing it, now we felt the two back set, and putting a third wide receiver or a big tight end and go to our 2-minute offense, which is the one we use most often in 2 minutes, is with the tight end or another wide receiver off the ball in more of a slot. This one is much more of a 2-minute type offense before the half or at the end of the game than it is to start the ball game with it. All right, now let's take a look at how do you execute this? How do you come out? How are you able to run your entire offense out of these various formations? We came up with a real simple plan. I'm not saying this is the only way to do it. I think you've got to use it within your own automatic system, which is the best for you. But I think you've got to be able, in this no huddle, is to be able to run your base running plays, the most effective ones you have. You've got to be able to throw the most effective passes you have. You've got to mix in screens. You've got to mix in draws. And that's sometimes difficult in an automatic system. We came up with a real system color scheme that worked out real well for us, and it never seemed to affect teams being able to pick up what we were doing. But rather than using our normal automatic system, like I told you before, just our numbering, we went with a color system. And we did this. We said, okay, as that quarterback comes to the line, if he uses the color red at any time, red meaning run. So he's at the line with his set, red, 34, 34. Immediately we were going to a 3 back in the 4-hole or a 34 running play with the red call. Now if we wanted to throw the ball, our answer was to use the color purple because P meaning pass. No great ingenious idea, but now as the different colors were used at the line, it wasn't like we were always using an automatic type color that was in our system. We used purple for the run, we used green for screen. So now he could come up, he could say green, 9, green, 9, 9 being our odd side of our formation, the weak side, so we were running a screen to the weak side. Now you can't have a quick screen, a regular screen, a read screen. You can only have one certain kind, but you're able to run your weak and your strong side screen game. We used brown, couldn't get one necessarily to rhyme with it, brown for draw. So now if I wanted to run a draw play, I could come up 35, 34, draw, whichever one I wanted to run, by just making the color call, and those linemen were up and ready to go. And an important point right here, we put those linemen up in a 3-point stance. A lot of times in 2-minute offense, we had them up in a 2-point because we were throwing more. We put them in a 3-point, and even though they had to be down there a little bit longer, hanging in that 3-point stance, we thought it was important to be able to run our entire running game, and we didn't want to run a trap or some kind of a straight-ahead run with these guys up in a 2-point stance. So we put them down in the 3-point right away and ran basically our entire offense. Now we had 2 other terms, and I know you'll hear Mike White talk about it in his passing tape. We had 2 terms that we threw in, and you could use whatever you want. Tank meaning a specific run. In other words, if the quarterback just came up the line, he's hollering tank, tank, tank. That for that particular game, it may have been our 28 toss. That may have been the run that we decided was going to be our tank play. So he could just make that call, and that allowed us to run whatever run we decided that week was going to be our run. It could be any one that you decide is the primary run for that. We'd also make a jet call. A jet call might be our 78 pass or whatever. I'll use that number. So he's saying jet, jet, jet. That meant we were going to run 78 with base protection, and they knew it was always a certain kind of protection. We didn't have to audible. We didn't have to use another color. It just automatically fit in. The third thing we had was what we call speedy. And all speedy was just like it was in our 2-minute offense, to kill the clock. The minute he called speedy, both outside receivers were running quick outs. We were going to drop back and throw one side or the other on the quick out. And we stayed basically in a right formation all the time. In other words, we had the right tight end. He was on the right side. We had the left tight end was on the left side. Because with this balanced set, it didn't matter. We always had a tight end to either side, so we used the right formation, and that tied in with our protections. So again, I'm getting in the areas where you've got to decide within your system which way fits. But this particular offense and getting into this set, the great thing it does for you is all of a sudden, here's that great defensive coordinator over there, and he wants to line up in a bunch of multiple sets, and he's a 34 defensive team. He's going to be lined up like this, and all of a sudden there's no overs, there's no unders. I mean, he's going to just sit in that base look. He's got to cover that tight end. Now, what does he do with the secondary? What does he do? If that strong safety is going to play this side of strength, or he's going to play this side of strength, our run call, we're always going to go away from that particular guy. Same way with the pass. If all of a sudden we want to run a weak side flood to this side, I mean, we've got them outnumbered over here. So it's a tremendous tool to start the ball game or insert at any point to get a defense off balance. The other place that it works so effectively, and this is where in the National Football League, the nickel defense has caused so many problems. And I think this is where you see a team like Cincinnati using it. I'm talking about no huddle that I just went over, starting a game with it, coming out and being able to run your entire offense basically and go right up and down the field. If you got that 35 or 30, or 25 seconds to operate, you're at the line using all that time and letting that quarterback see what he sees and then control it. The other area where it's so effective is at times on second and long or third down of any kind, in mostly a passing situation. All of a sudden, you make the call on first down and you throw an incomplete pass. Now it's 2nd and 10. At that time, here comes that defensive coordinator's team coming on the field. Here comes that nickel defense. And all of a sudden, you don't gain any advantage. They've got a great pass defense in there. But how about the minute that ball's, you make no gain or it's incomplete, on 2nd and 10, you're right back up at the line of scrimmage, and you come to the line, and if you got 2 running backs in there, now use that other set I was talking about. Now we come out in this set, and we're running a no-huddle play against a base defensive team, and if you got a good enough tight end, then maybe you can flex him out there too and use that as your slot. You're in a great pass formation, and they can't get a defensive nickel team in there, so you're attacking a normal team. And that's where the pros are using it so effectively, especially in that 3rd down situation. 3rd and 3 to 5. All of a sudden, 2nd down, and you get an incomplete pass, and now you're right back at the line of scrimmage lining up in this formation, and you're ready to come out on 3rd and 3 to 5 where they can't get the nickel defense on the field. And this may be a time, if you're a team that does that, be alert that on your 2nd down call, maybe you send a personnel type team in there that has 3 wide receivers on 2nd down. Now, if they don't go with a nickel defense, and now you're 3rd down, you've got all those wide receivers in there to be able to attack a nickel defense that isn't even in the game. So this is where it's effective. But I think it's something you got to practice. I don't think you can just come out, and if your system works in your numbering system so easy with whatever kind of an automatic system you have, with us it was so simple because as I explained to you just a few minutes ago, when we're in a check with me in regular situations, run to run or run to pass, now it's very simple for our linemen who all of a sudden have been accustomed to this kind of an offense. It's not like now they're going to come up to that line of scrimmage, they've never experienced anything like this, and they've got to now listen for color calls, number calls. This is all part of our offense, and I think this is so important. The initial thought that we have, multiple system, variety of formations, keep the defense off balance, put the advantage of the chalk back in your hands, where now it's a control thing offensively and the defense is at a disadvantage. I think that's what the no-huddle and the check-with-me system does for you. All right, coaches, now that real critical area and the situation area that we want to get into is goal line and short yardage. I don't look really at these 2 areas any different. I mean, we made a commitment and personnel-wise on what we were going to do, and I think the minute you decide on this goal line, I mean, you need a yard or you need a yard and a half or 2, you've got to get the biggest people and the strongest people you can get that you feel can get the yard for you. And now, there's no question, you got to think run number one. If they're going to force you to throw the football in this situation, then you may be in a little bit of trouble. You've got to feel that you can make a yard or 2 at any time you want in the best design and the best structured plays you can to attack a goal line defense. Now, I think an area what you've got to decide, and as we look at it, the first thing we do is analyze your defensive personnel. And what do you do? I mean, basically, 90% of the defense you're going to see, if you're going to go to a goal line personnel offense, you're going to see a 6 front of some kind of a 6-5 goal line. And I think probably people that are looking at that Joe Collier tape on defense, I think they had the finest goal line defense of anybody we ever played against in the National Football League because of some of the things they did, and I know Joe explained those to you. But you're going to look at this type of a front. The key to us is this. We know we're going to get a big linebacker here. We know we're going to get your big linebacker here and here. Now, the question is, what do you do substitution-wise at this position right here? You got your corner and your safety. You got 3 DBs. Is this a defensive back sitting here, or is it another linebacker? You're probably going to find that in most cases, that guy sitting in there on that weak side that's eyeballing that back is going to be another big linebacker. So you're looking at a 4-linebacker defensive football team on the goal line. That being the case, you know you're going to have to do some things with movement and some strength calls to attack that guy. It does give you an advantage, no question, when you're mismatching this guy and this guy on a pass in man-to-man situations, so you can run some great play passes off this to attack it. But our first question is, what do they do with that goal line at that spot right there. I think that's critical on what you feel you can do. The second thing, how about this inside perimeter? These four guys, are they a goal line team that runs goal line pinches, goal line outs, and does a number of things? That's important, because if say we're taking this thing in from about the 5-yard line going in that situation offense, and when they're from the 5-yard line to the 6 or 7-yard line, they go to goal line, they're going to goal line out. Now you got the trap. The closer you get, you're going to get a goal line pinch. So you better be ready and have enough confidence that you can take that ball and take it to the outside. So we look at what the structure is, how do these 4 or 6 people up front, combination-wise, give us a variety of different looks, and what happens at that position there. All right, now I think one of the biggest mistakes coaches make is they feel, okay, because it's a goal line situation, we're going to cut those splits down and we're going to be 4 to 6 inch splits like we are in a PAT and a field goal. I really believe that's a big mistake. I think there's a minimum and a maximum, however. I don't think you want to split them out 3 feet, obviously, like you do in a normal situation, but we felt that we wanted to get a good 12-inch, even sometimes a little bit more, all the way up to an inch, to a yard and a half or so split in there. We stayed somewhere in this area depending on the play call. Because otherwise, if you figure if you're only 6 inches in here and you carry that out, plus the size of your people, all of a sudden you've cut that whole area down where these backs have a chance to run the football. There's no lanes in there. And now we get people pinching. Everything's a big mush with the size of those guys, and there's no place for that back to go. So I think it's important. I wouldn't ever, not at least, have yourself a good foot split in there so those backs have got a chance in an area where they can attack and not everything be jammed in on them. All right, now let's take this goal line defense and look at some of the same kind of plays that you ran before in a normal and apply them to this goal line defense. The first play, and I'm talking the year I was with Baltimore, probably 99 to 100% this play made it. And it's a very simple, it's our lead play, but very simply, this play, if you've got a back that can hit up in there, it's an excellent football play to decide what people are going to do. Now here's a critical area in this situation. You line that wing up in a certain position, and you want to control that strong safety, or you want to control these corners who may be coming off the outside. So there's certain times we want to move him to the side of the play called. There's times we want to move him to the play called and then run away from him to get strength away from what we're trying to do. If we're going to run the lead play, the minute you put this guy in movement and you start bringing him across the formation, that's going to affect this safety or this linebacker. So our feeling is that linebacker is going to have to run across with him. That's fine. At least we get a linebacker or a strong safety, a defensive back, moving across the formation where he's not just lined up there and he can hit it on the snap of the ball. So when we run the lead play, our feeling on that, let's bring this guy, our other big tight end, across the formation, because we're going to run that play right now. We're going to run a 34 or 33 lead play right into this hole here, right over that 3 area. So to do that, we want to bring that tight end across, and we want to block anything, even though we know that strong safety is going to be moving that way. We want to block anything coming off that corner. Now, what this is a get after them, everybody come off the ball play. We've got key blocks here. We've got a key block here. Now, depending on how they play that guy, what we want to do now is just double off on that defensive lineman, because that's where that ball's running. Backside, at times this is a tough cutoff. Your foot or 12-inch split will help you there. We want the cutoff right there. Now, this lead back, we want that lead back right through, blocking the first linebacker or first man that shows to the inside. And it's a reverse handoff. We're going to hand the ball to that fullback, and he's going to just take that ball, and it's going to go inside off of this block right here, or it could cut back all the way under that one. Now, we want that center, as we come off on that thing, to be ready to handle that middle linebacker as he comes off the other side. So any stunning this way, one of the two are coming off on that middle linebacker, but we want to get a good push first at that point right there to ensure that back that he can get that ball to that point about a yard deep over that offensive guard. So it seems like a simple play, but the key blocks come right here, and now you got that lead halfback. And this can't be a timid guy. Sometimes that's another change you've got to make. You may have to make a change on the goal line and make sure you bring a couple backs in or a bigger back that can make that block. You'd be amazed, though, the little guy that can get himself through there and tie up that inside linebacker, and now that play is inside here, or it's outside off the block of that offensive tackle. This was probably the lead running play that we ran the first year I was with the Colts with a kid named Randy McMillan. We're very successful with it. We felt we could get a yard or a yard and a half, and sometimes, most of the time, 2, any place on the field clear down to the goal line with that lead play. Now, you're going to get people start zeroing in on that play after a while, but I think initially that's where it starts. A great idea for you, and we did this the one year when I was in college. The first thing we put in training camp was goal line offense. And the reason we did it, it was the year we wanted to make a commitment to the running game. We felt, let's start with, right now it's 90% run. We're telling you we're going to run. So let's start our preparation and our introduction to the running game by the first day of practice, putting in the goal line offense first, and then moving back the other way and adding our regular running plays after we've instituted the goal line. It helped us because we created an attitude. We created an attitude. We're going to run the football this year, and we're going to do a better job. Hey, the coaches even feel that goal line's the number 1 priority because of our running game and our running game emphasis. So just a small point, something we did one year, and it really helped us. So now the 33 lead play, the lead play that we feel to start off with that we're going to build on the goal line. All right, now, beyond the lead play, our second thought down here was we wanted to get outside. I'm talking about working the weak side now. We wanted to get outside weak, and we were going to do it 2 ways. We were going to do it either by tossing the ball, or we're just going to build on the same play I drew up for you earlier when we talked about running our 39 reach play. So the 39 reach became the second key play down here if we wanted to run that thing weak side. So we're going to take that back, we're going to hand him that ball, and we're going to get him outside where that thing may cut anywhere from that tackle to the outside. Now the blocking is exactly the same on this if we were running the 39 reach, or if you wanted to toss the ball. You wanted to run 39 toss. It wouldn't be, as far as the blocking, it would be exactly the same. Whether we're going to get that ball quicker to the outside or whether they're going to hand it where it looks like an inside lead play and then bounce it, the blocking scheme up front's the same. Now, when we're running that play, what we wanted to do, we didn't want to bring the safety over on this one because it's an outside play. So you could either line him up over here and bring him across or just line up in that set. One of 2 ways. Either line up, keep the safety there where we're going to run away, bring him over here, bring the safety over, and move him back to create combination calls, which isn't all bad. Those are the 2 ways I'd do it. Make the safety run across. Now we're coming back with a 38 reach, or 39 reach in this case. All right, now the blocking. Key block right here. We've got to get that block. We've got to get that block on that outside linebacker just to get a little bit of movement off the ball. Again, this becomes a reach play, so we're trying to get an outside target. We want to get that guy blocked with an outside target so we can stretch the play and give him some more running lanes, give that fullback a chance to get in those running lanes. Now, the decision a lot of times is made right here, and this is a tough one. We've got to get these 2 people blocked, obviously. It's a tough block. So if we felt that this guy was in an inside type shade, we would actually pull that guy around and search him out and try to overblock the center. Now, you're going to have to cut that split down. When I talk 12-inch split here, that one has got to be cut down a little bit on this play, because if that guy's in any kind of an outside movement, obviously we're not going to get him. So there are times when we actually even tried to scoop that off and had let the center come all the way around. But the key thing we wanted to do was get that overblock with that center and pull that guard out in an area where he was responsible for that backer, because that's the key block, is trying to get that linebacker as he filters through. All right, the backside, we're merely total scooping here where we can come off. Everything was a total scoop. We'd like to get that tackle all the way down where this guard can come up on that off linebacker. Now, most people will line him up over there. If they start lining him up in the middle like this, then the thought is more to go strong. But there, most of the time, you're going to find that linebacker sitting strong side. And they could bring him back in the middle. But again, that's a point. If they bring him back in the middle and they line up eyeball to eyeball on him, you may be thinking a little bit more strong side running game. But we feel like this is where that guy will be most of the time. We need the full scoop on the backside. Now, as that back gets the ball, and the lead back, who I didn't cover, he runs that slant course right over the outside leg of that tight end, and now he's either got a kick-out block or he wants to hook that guy so we can stretch it. We can stretch the play, and then it may cut anywhere from there out there to the inside. But it's, again, nothing, not any great gimmick play. I mean, everybody runs the play, but I think what you do right here with that offensive guard, whether you try scooping and slipping this guy through or you pull that guy, will depend on what you feel they're doing with that defensive tackle. But the 39 reach play or the 39 toss, the only small point I'd make, coaching point, if you're running toss, if the linemen here toss rather than reach, they may think a little bit more, exaggerate their target just slightly. In other words, if we say toss, we're really thinking of getting that ball out there a little bit quicker than the handoff that looks like an inside play. So when you're talking to these guys up front, you might just make the small point. If I say 39 toss or 39 reach, toss means get that head, really work for that outside target a little bit more because the ball's going to be over the top of your position so much quicker. But both these plays, the 39 and the lead play, excellent plays to the weak side. Like this one because it's a stretch play and we can do different things with that slot or that wing to affect the strong safety. So like I said, either bring him back in motion or leave him there and just sit him there. You don't want to use a lot of motion. This is a good play not to do it. Let him sit in that position, come back with your toss or your reach play, and it's a great stretch play to the weak side in goal line offense. All right, now we've talked about ways to get to the weak side of the set, the weak side of the formation. Let's now also get into the lead plays that I think are important to run strong side. And you notice, this is the set we're talking about. I like the far formation down here. I'm not a big eye guy. Not that we'll run the eye toss, we'll run the eye jump play if you got a great athlete back here like a lot of people. But I'm not as big on the eye down in here because it takes too long to get those plays to the line of scrimmage. I like the far formation a little bit better. So now we're going to run the 48 fill sweep. On this one, as we're running this play, again, we mentioned earlier, is that middle linebacker there? Or maybe they're going to line him up eyeballing that fullback. We hope they do that because it'll make it a little easier for our fullback to get his block. But we don't care. We don't care. If they want to leave it the way they had it when we were running our weak side play, that's great too. So now, let's get that strong safety out of the way. We don't want to run this play in that 8 area with that strong safety sitting there and make a tougher block. So let's motion this guy across and then handle anything coming off that side, get that strong safety removed from the place we're going to go. And go after whichever corner you think is the weakest run defender. That's the key. Now, keep that main block right here, just like on any outside sweep play or fill play. We want that block. We want that block made right there, and hopefully we're going to get that guy hooked or at least get into him, get some movement off the ball. Now, we know we want to pull that front side guard and get him out there to block that corner. So in doing that, it's that same inevitable problem we talked about. You got to get that split down there because that's the tough block. That center's got to get that over block. Or you feel you got a great athlete at center and you want to do it and pull him. That's another way of doing it. That's pretty tough on the goal line to do that. There's other plays I think that you can do that. But when he's down there and everything's all crammed in and he's got to get in that corner real quick, that's a tough assignment for him. We feel like we can get that block. We can get that block. Now, the offside guard is going to come off trying to get that cutoff. So we're cutting off the backside, just like we talked about doing on the reach play this way. We want to get that cutoff and get that off backer blocked because he's going to be running with that tailback that he's playing man-to-man. This guy becomes a key factor in the play like he does on the fill. As he drives up in there over the outside leg of that guard on his dive course, he's got to find a way to search his way, and I've seen that fullback come all the way out here and block that middle linebacker scraping off out here. His job is to block that middle linebacker. Start up in there, affect that middle linebacker, and then search him out and get that block so that back on that play as he comes across with that football can read these two blocks. And remember, this guy is not there anymore. We just need a block there, one there, and that fullback searching that linebacker out, and we're off and running. That play will cut out here. It'll cut in here. It's a great play. It's interesting, this play, and if John Ralston did a book a number of years, and the cover of that book in the Rose Bowl against Ohio State, we felt playing a team like Ohio State, we actually did this by flexing that tight end a little bit. What Ohio State would do, they'd move that backer inside. Now we had the angle block on him, and it made his block easier. It was just a little thing we thought would help the play, and amazingly, we flexed our big tight end out. The linebacker moved right out with him, didn't do what we expected him to do, and the play became the ideal play I've got right here. And our running back, Jackie Brown, took that thing, started it in, bounced it outside, and scored on the goal line against Ohio State. The 48 fill sweep was the play that we called it, that scored at that particular time. So again, and we were going to be smart. We said, hey, we move this guy out, he'll move in there, we can get the angle block. He didn't even do it, but your rules apply. Your rules apply, and it's a great play down in here. I think there may be times when there's certain spots you've got to tighten that down a little bit, and I don't want to do it too much. I mean, you can't be tipping those splits, but we felt the fill play to the strong side, and when I was in Baltimore, it was an excellent play. Curtis Dickey ran this play very well. But that back, you don't want that back dipping up in here too soon. You want that stretch. He should be stretching that thing at least till he's over the outside leg of that tackle. Now, I've seen it where they're in a goal line out charge and all of a sudden he sees some daylight. That's not what you're looking for on this play, but that could possibly happen. Same play, handoff-wise, that quarterback opens on that. We don't want him reverse pivoting. He opens for this mesh right here. It looks like you're giving the fullback the ball in a dive. He opens and then just hands the ball back to that back coming across the formation right here, and then he continues on his play pass, which you can run from there. Use movement across, clean that thing out, key block of the fullback and that middle linebacker, get that tight end to stand him up. Don't allow penetration. Thing that kills any of these goal line plays, if you get penetration where that tight end steps too much, and I should probably have made a big point on that, is if that tight end takes too much of a step to reach that guy and he's in a pinch, he'll never see him, and that kills the play. So you want to go right at that guy for that target, just with a little bit of an upfield target, but that is key that we don't allow penetration in that 8 area or this play is destroyed. This guy has got to stop that and give that back a chance to stretch the play and then be able to take it outside, take it inside, 48 fill for the touchdown. Okay, now one of the most probably rewarding and fulfilling plays, I think, for these guys, when they hear the word trap, for some reason, offensive linemen love that. Now, I think it's tough sometimes to run a trap play on the goal line. If you're getting goal line pinch defenses and you're trying to run a trap in there, it's difficult. But we just talked about the 48 fill play that we were just running, the fill sweep. Now, this guy here, who's usually the best football player on a goal line team, is the guy, as you'll notice, many of the things we're doing to affect that middle linebacker. Now, if we've been running that fill play and he's searching him out and he sees this kind of action, we don't even feel, if we're going to run a trap in here, we don't feel we have to block that middle linebacker. That effectiveness of that fullback and that play is enough to handle that middle linebacker. Now, you've got to be intelligent when you call this play. I think you get down on the 1 or 2 yard line going in the end zone and you're calling the trap play, you may have this guy getting his neck shortened a little bit because they're going to be pinching. It's tough to run traps in there at that point. But if you get them in the right situation, and we always felt like when we're down there, even when we take the ball first and goal at the 4 or 5 yard line, we may get a goal line out charge, and now the trap is more effective. I'm not saying you can't run it if you get a pinch. You just got to know that everything is a little bit tighter, and that back better be ready. You don't want some exchange happening, and there's a guy in the backfield nailing that back, because that's where fumbles happen on the goal line. But now let's talk about the 40 fill trap. Now we're going to give the ball to that back in that 0 hole right there. We're going to run that back in there. Now we want to do it off the same action that we ran the fill, off the fill. So the trap is going to come in here. So that fullback's going to start just like he did before. What did we do on the fill play? We pull the guard. So we're going to do the same thing. So over here the blocking looks just like it did on the fill. We're going to block those 2 people, stop any penetration because we want to run the ball in here. Now, with this wing, this is a good time. Leave him there, or what we did a lot of times to at least give them some check calls, we brought him in motion and then brought him back and brought that just to get movement out of that strong safety where he doesn't eyeball and be able to bounce in there. Plus, it may put a little bit of an effect on that middle linebacker where he's looking, maybe they're running a wham in there where he's going to come in and wham me or wham that guy. So it helps, but if you don't want to cause any cadence problems down there, you want to be as sure as you can, just let him sit there and eliminate that. But I throw that in because it's a good time to run reverse motion down in there to create problems with these two. All right, now as that guard pulls, just have him come out there. He's looking for the first thing that shows outside. Again, it shouldn't be a factor. That ball should never bounce that far. Now, we want a pretty decent split in there, obviously, to widen that trap hole. The center's got the key angle block. He's got to stop that penetration. Now, our trapper is at off guard. He's coming off, and he's going to handle that off linebacker to create that seam. Important cutoff block right here. If there's any kind of a pinch move, cutoff block right here. We're not worried about that corner ever catching a trap play off the backside. Quarterback is quick open to that guy. We take one lateral step with that back, and then he's right over the tail of that center. So it's a quick, and then the handoff comes real quick off of that two-step to the tailback, and we're trying to hit the thing right up in there. Now, the fullback is actually the trapper. If you really look at it, the guy we're trapping with is that fullback. We hope we get something like this. That fullback's course now is a little bit tighter than it was on the fill, but as he drives up in there, that fullback is going to make the key block or the trap block on that defensive tackle. Now you say to yourself, hey, that's a tough block, that fullback on that big down guy. But he sees that pull, and that affects him. We've just run the fill play. Maybe we got him in a goal line out. If they're in a goal line pinch, you just have to do the best thing you can. That fullback's got to come in here and just blast him, and now that back can just leap it over the top. We don't feel that guy will be a factor on the play. He just saw the fill play. He's got to be affected by lead and be able to take that fullback, and that happens, and all of a sudden that trap hits so quick, and it's tight, but it's a great play. Like I said, the guy that the gentleman that convinced me you could run the trap was Frank Cush, and I saw how effective he could be with it, and that back, you can't be messing around. I mean, that's a jab, go, and that's a quick handoff for the quarterback, and it's very important. One thing you don't want, a lot of intricate, it's a little bit more of an intricate handoff. That quarterback is stepping to the fullback, and then it's 1, 2, 3, and that ball is right off the backside hip of that quarterback on the trap. So I like it. I mean, if you don't have the trap into your arsenal, they know they can get away with running a goal line outs on you all the time, and that takes away a lot of your outside running game. So I think the trap is a key element of the goal line running offense. Run the trap. You can run the fullback trap as well off of that scissor action. We've done that. Just run the zero trap of the fullback with the same blocking scheme, bringing this guy across the formation, giving it to him. But we like this one because it ties in so well with the 48 fill sweep. So inside trap, great play on the goal line. Okay, let's get into another strong side play. I think this one is probably the most, along with the lead play that we talked about earlier, the most intense. I mean, let it happen. If you're going to take two plays that allow your offensive linemen and those three tight ends to get off and hit somebody, it would be the lead play that we talked about earlier, and then the play we call our 8-hole play, or our 48, 4 back in the 8-hole, power meaning kick out, G meaning guard pull, and that's the only reason where all these names come from. Now we're going to run a play where we're just going to line up with that wing back right there. We're going to come off right now and just blast somebody and try to get that ball in that 8-hole with that back running the ball. Now, one point here, sometimes if there was a play you'd ever want to go on a first sound, just come up the minute your line were said go, this would be the play. I really caution, and it's important with your cadence down in the goal line, when your cadence, don't go on first sound. Don't go on first sound, because these guys are up there, they're so intense, they're ready to go. The first thing they hear from one of those defensive guys, you're going to get them jumping offside. So I should have made that point a little bit earlier on this goal line, but your cadence, make sure you're going on your normal, whatever the count is that you use most often, but not a quick count. And there's very little automatic, and it takes place down here. I mean, here what you see is what you get. And you don't need a lot of automatic in goal line situations to beat this. You know what it is. So I make the point of cadence because this is a play that there's no movement, just come off and hit somebody. So now we're going to run that 48 power G. The point of attack is right here. So in that wing, you may have to make sure that his alignment is tight enough where he can come off in that double team. What these two guys are trying to do is come off and ensure that one of the two can come off on that middle linebacker. So we're saying that tight end and that wing are going to handle these two people in some combination. The wing back, if he comes off and can get it, then the tight end will come off. If they're both wedging him off and he can come off late, we've got to get those two blocked. Key block here, as it always is. Drive him off the ball. Key block here. Now, what we want to do, not come off with that guard as I had it. This is a key block, but we're going to try again to overblock, and we know this guard is the near guard kickout guy on the power G. G telling us he's going to pull. He's coming off. He's blocking that corner or anything that shows, the first thing that shows off that tight end's fanny as he comes out there. The fullback now, same course he started on the fill play, so again it looks the same, but he's coming up inside and he's going to block the next thing that shows inside the kick-out block of that offensive guard. Okay? Backside, you want to, again, this is a key scoop type technique. We're coming down trying to scoop all this. We don't feel like this play should get caught from the outside by some corner, so we're not as worried about that or this guy running it down because it's a full flow, quick play. Now we want the quarterback, because this play is very much like the fill play, really open the same way. Now we have gotten to a point in this one where we had a little trouble making it look like the fill, because that technique of the quarterback opening that way opens and gets this guy a little bit too deep at this point, at the handoff point. So if you feel you're having trouble with that, you may have to sacrifice the open pivot and just hand the ball and get the ball back here to as quick as you can, so his angle can start right there rather than over the top and starting at that angle. That little difference right there can sometimes make the difference on his ability to get up in that hole. So try it both ways. We've done it both ways. I like it better with this because it ties in with your fill play. It ties in with your trap. But now, if it is a problem, just let him reverse to him and hand it to him that way. So let's say we're opening, we're getting the ball to that tailback who's running that ball. The minute he gets it, he's starting right up there. He treats it like a trap. That's the kick-out trap. That's the power block, and we're going to run that thing right up in that area right there. It's a great play from that wing set, but these two have got to work together. You've got to spend some time practicing that combination block. It's not all bad if you get a great double team here to just drive that strong backer or that Sam backer, drive him right back into the backfield, and that builds a wall for that Mike linebacker. You'd sooner see that than one of these guys come off too soon and allow that backer to come off and he's right in the hole. So we have said, ensure that double team first. Make sure we get movement. Get movement at that point so that that lane, that running lane for that back is created there, and let the middle linebacker even try to come over the top to make the play, because we got 2 yards and we're in the end zone. So important on that double team, but it's important that you practice these two guys too, because it's not something they do all the time. Most of the plays we run, this is a move guy where he's kicking out. He hasn't had to do much double teaming. So that if you can perfect that double team, get one of them off, and again, big block here, and then that fullback coming through there and kicking out, excellent play. You get down close to the goal line, what are you going to get? Goal line pinch. Now that block becomes easy. That block becomes a lot easier. And now the point of attack is made for you, and you get that back inside. So 40, we call it 48 power G. Call it whatever you want. It's an off tackle to the off the wing back position, double team kick out type block. It's a get after them. The two most powerful plays where your guys can have some fun are running that power G or running that lead play to the weak side. Great two plays to introduce. One weak, one strong. Gives those offensive linemen that feeling that, hey, I can come off and just hit somebody and drive them off the ball, and that's what goal line offense is all about. Okay, now we've talked about those key running plays from this far wing formation. I didn't get into the I formation, although you could run the toss, and the blocking on that would be very similar to running that fill play that we talked about, or the jump play if you got just a leaper back here, a guy that can really jump over the top and get it in. Now let's look at a couple ways to get the ball to these backs. If you got guys there that can catch the football, they become so important, because remember the mismatches maybe down here. If that's a substituted linebacker, you got a man-to-man situation there on him, and you got a Mike linebacker, a middle linebacker playing him man-to-man. That's why when we look at this, we try to analyze, and it's easy for us in the National Football League because we get a scouting report. Our scouting report is film. We get the greatest tapes and films that there is, so we know so much about these guys. We look at them and we play them over and over again. You're not always in that situation. So I think you've got to rely so much on what does your scout say when you go out to watch that game. Or like John Ralston talks about in his tape, he explains different methods and the most organized ways of knowing exactly how they play this. because you don't have the advantages we have. You've got to know everything about these people. I don't think always, I myself, even in college, attack personnel as much as we do in the pro ranks. Because if there's any kind of weakness, and there usually isn't, but we've got to know who these guys are and what they do. So I make an important point. When we start getting into, do we want to throw the ball? Are they man-to-man on your scouting report, or are they a zone down in here and play a lot of zone coverage? You've got to be ready to attack both. All right, let's look at what we call just a roll, a quarterback in the 5 position. We're going to roll the quarterback to the strong side. I got a 1 up here. Let's make that 58 roll and roll him to the 8 area. So we want to get the quarterback out here to be able to throw the ball. Now, what we're going to try to do is create situations. We pretty much know that we've got a man-to-man situation like that. Now, they can combo it and do a lot of things, and we take that into consideration. So what we want to do, whether you move this guy or start him here and bring him over, we want to drive that guy deep and bring him across the baseline deep. Man-to-man, it's not a great route for him. We want that tight end with an outside release to at least widen that a little bit, and if he can't, we'll take the inside release. But we'd like that to drive it in here, and he's going to work across to the inside and then come out late. So we know these two people in man-to-man have got to cover those two. So now to roll that thing, we want to roll that line. Always remember the most important thing when you're telling those guys in any kind of a pass play, where is the throwing spot? Where are they protecting? We know that quarterback's going to be 7 yards deep, setting up about over that offensive tackle. They should know that. Now, that center's going to roll. If he doesn't need to help on anything right here, then he can always come out the backside and pick up anything coming. That's critical on your backside protection. Okay? The guard's going to step inside. They're going to roll, and they're going to hinge the backside to handle anything that happens off the backside. If you get 4 coming, hopefully the center can help you. Because if you don't, you're in a little bit of trouble. We know that linebacker's got to be in a coverage situation. The guy we're trying to create the problem on is we want him in a mismatch as that fullback starts up in there and comes to the outside. Now, what we're talking about on running this route, and I think it's so important, make sure that the understanding on a back running a pass route, he knows exactly where he should be on those junction points. We're talking goal line. We need 2 yards. We want him 2 yards deep with his numbers and his shoulders turned so he can handle that football. Because if he doesn't, and he's running out there with his head looking back and that ball's thrown anywhere where he can't adjust, get him to turn and get those shoulders and those numbers back where he can handle that ball. And the minute he gets to that point, a yard over the line of scrimmage, he's breaking for 2, and it's a burst. I mean, this is not a controlled route, a zone control route. This is a man-to-man type route where we want to get that ball to that fullback right now. Now the tight end, as he drives inside, he comes off late and he works the baseline. You're thinking there and there late. There and there late. That halfback has got to come across, and then he's coming up at a quick angle. He's got anything that shows off that tackle. Now that can be, there are times we felt we really had to cheat him over. Because if you get that kind of a thing happening, I'll tell you what, the minute that quarterback rolls in behind that, about the time he comes off it, here that guy is, and that collision happens back here sometimes. You can't let that happen. You've got to get him there as quick as you can, and it doesn't get done like that. It's got to be the minute he clears that quarterback, he's up at an inside-out angle to handle that Sam backer that's going to be coming off that corner real hard. So now what we're trying to do, this is the key route, and I think on Coach White's tape, he talks about this roll, this particular pass, and getting the ball to that fullback. Now, speed, we hope, let's say now, because they're in man-to-man, they line up man-to-man over the center. Now you got him. Now you got him. Now he can't, we don't think he can filter through there, look, run in, pass, and get over there. If he's over here, he's obviously in a position to be able to do it, but we still think that fullback, we'd like to cheat him over the split set, but we don't run much out of split, so we've got to get it off of this. Now, the guy that a lot of times, if that backer isn't coming, you can even belly that guy, but I'll guarantee you, there's going to be 99% of the time, he's going to have to make that block on that Sam linebacker. Now, the key thing on this that's important, here's how I feel. They could cover this route if this guy does a great job without you rubbing him off. Now, what they're going to start to do, if they feel they can't get that middle linebacker over to cover him, they're going to say to this guy, let's combo off. In other words, you pick up the fullback, and I'll take the tight end on it because he's releasing inside. So these two guys will switch their combination. The minute the tight end releases like that, he says, I got him, you pick up the fullback. So our next route off of this, we'll do the same thing now. The only thing now, all we change he still stays the same. Now the tight end starts like that, and he's back to the corner. So that anytime we get these guys comboing off, we're going to give them the two pictures where they can't do it. Now the fullback comes, the strong safety jumps him, they got him covered. The middle linebacker says, I can cover the tight end because he's running an inside route. Now we take him back to the corner, and it's a heck of a play. Most of the time when we do that, what we'll do to get this safety even out of there at times, we'll run him back across in motion and block him on the backside. And now, tight end corner, fullback in the flat, we got that corner. I got a lot of scratching here, but now that only guy left is that guy, and now we got he, and we can work a combination. So you can do it either way. Take that guy deep, take the corner out of there, and work the combo on the strong safety and the middle linebacker with your back. But as that back comes out, make sure he's getting that depth, and it's a burst, and then get him to throw those numbers back, and you don't want him drifting like this. I can cover this kind of a thing, but you want to roll away, and every step, the difference in this route and this route is just day and night. I can cover that route and get underneath it, but I can't cover that if I roll away to the outside. Every step I take with that guy coming like that, I'm gaining ground, and now the quarterback can get in that position as he's coming out of there and throw that football, that fullback in the flat. So you can work both combinations. We just call it the 4 route with an inside the 2 route with a tight end corner, but the key guy on this pass is that fullback. And it really does. Even though it's a rollout action, it looks a lot like the fill play. It looks a lot like the fill play, and there's got to be that much hesitation in his mind, and that's all it takes. If you got a back with speed, the fullback with speed, get the ball to him in the flat. And when I talked about burst, I mean there's a control. You got to be run full speed, turn your numbers back, and that will get you on control. That's the only little coaching point we use. If I'm running full speed and I try to do this, I can no longer run full speed when I'm looking for the ball, but it also gets my body under control, my shoulders where I can handle any kind of a ball thrown and not drop a key pass or a ball thrown down as I'm going into that end zone for the touchdown. But these are short yardage plays as well as goal line when we're attacking a goal line defense. Strong side roll, fullback in the flat, basically combination however you can do it. Okay, now there's a number of goal line pass routes and ways to do it. What I want to talk about now, and we're not going to call it a pick. Let's not say pick. We'll call it a rub. We're just going to rub one man off to get the ball to the other because we feel if you're attacking a goal line defense, it's basically a man. And like I said earlier, you've got to also have it into your system where if they're not in man, they come off late against the zone. I'll show you how that works. But what we're going to do now, we're going to try to run a drop back pass on the goal line and rub one of these guys off. We're going to use one man to actually occupy 2. So the guy we want to get the ball to now, we're going to try to get the ball that halfback on a corner route. He's running that route to the corner. And we'll talk about how you run that route and what the key coaching points are on that. But what we want to do for protection purposes, we know we got a man-to-man situation in this. So what we're going to try to do, we're going to bring this guy across who's man-to-man on that corner or strong safety. They'll probably leave the corner there on the tight end. One of these two will run across with him, whoever it happens to be. As he runs across, we're going to bring one of those people, let's say it's the strong safety, we're going to bring him over with him. Now, as he comes across, we want him to drive on a snap of the ball. He's going to drive up the field, and he's going to rub the man that's covering the guy we're going to throw the ball to. So he's going to get in his way in a real clever way so that guy can't cover him. But now what he's done, he's occupied his man, who's got him man-to-man, and that linebacker. So we've taken these two people out of the way. That's the object behind this pass, to get that rubbed off, and now we got this guy going to the corner. Now, potentially he could jump off on it, but now what we do with the fullback is swing him on a wide swing route on the man that's covering him man-to-man. Now, to ensure your protection, we're just basically man-to-man. We're going to hold this tight end in. We're going to hold this tight end in. We're going to hold him in. We're going to hold him in. The center now separates, and he's looking really to the Mike linebacker here with the potential of helping wherever he can. It's almost impossible for them. If they want to bring these two people and just gamble, that means that these corners have got to cover the backs because they'll put these people on the tight end. That makes it tough. So you don't get much inside linebacker blitzes down here. And if they want to do it, that quarterback's out. Any problem on this is he backs out, he lays the ball off. If he's ever in doubt and he doesn't have time and they're bringing people in here, just throw it to that fullback, and somebody from clear over here has got to be running with him, and it's a touchdown. So you've got the answer on the hot and where to lay it off. What we want to do is just good man-to-man protection. With our tighter splits down here, we're going to pick this guy off and then try to get the ball to that halfback. Now, on his route, we can't afford to get him jammed up in there. When that tight end is blocking, we know his course is over a good yard outside that tight end's fanny, but just like the fullback did on that flat route, instead we want him going through that point where it looks like he's breaking flat. Then we're going to take that in an inside position on that corner. We want to get under that corner, and at 6 to 8 yards, he's going to bend and just roll that thing to the outside. So just like we talked about that fullback, turning those numbers back, as he makes that turn and he's breaking to that corner, all we want him doing is slightly turning those shoulders and looking over that outside shoulder. Because if we're going to throw it, that ball should be thrown out over the top and in a box. If this is the corner of that end zone, we work a lot on somewhere in that box, in that far corner of the end zone, where we've got about a 4-yard square, that quarterback can just drop that ball right in there, and he's going to the corner to catch the ball, and it's an easy throw and an easy catch. Now, it's important on this, and we don't know what they're going to do coverage-wise. The minute that guy blocks, he may find, I'm freed up to go to the corner, but now we got the fullback out here. So we're putting the bind on that corner with our rub. We're going to rub the man that's got him covered and put a double stretch on that corner so that if he ends up running here, we got the fullback to lay the ball off with that guy in a total mismatch all the way from that side of the formation. If he does what he's supposed to do and he gets locked into the man he's got, now we're going right there. And as a last resort, let's say they went zone. Just drop these guys in zone. What we do now, this tight end realizes it's zone, this wing back, and all he does is comes off late as a zone beater. So now we've got a 1-2 level with that zone beater guy and the fullback swinging, just as if it was a zone. So that quarterback sees zone, he's saying, oh, everybody's dropping, I can't throw the corner route. Now, whoever is in this zone has got two people, the wing back coming late and the fullback on a swing. If he drops in this zone, we dump it here. If they jump up on here, we throw the ball in the tight end. So it's kind of an all-encompassing pass that's super down here. Now, you got to work with this guy. You got to teach him how. And the base thing on that rub is that guy comes off on that rub, all he wants to do is be looking in at that inside linebacker and get in his way. Just get in his way like he's going to catch the ball right there. Don't go after the linebacker. Don't be running in there finding. He'll find you because he's got that back. As that back starts up, there he comes. He'll find you and just build a wall right in here, make it look like you're trying to avoid. And then as he does finally climb off and clear, now you're underneath it late for a zone type beater or even a late man beater if we need, if they get messed up on their coverage. It's a great play. Great play. This is a play that the Chargers run, one that fouls through a bunch to the corner, to that back run into the corner on the rub. So it's I like it down here on the short side, and this guy here has got to be a pretty good football player, pretty good actor. It's good with a big guy here too, because the bigger he is, the easier that rub is for him, getting in the way of that inside linebacker. And any kind of combinations, this guy's got to be alert, but he's thinking 1, 2, 3 late. 1, 2, 3 late on the rub. I think it's one it's almost unstoppable if it's run the right way. Okay, now to kind of wrap up these running back tapes, let's get into some situations that are the real fun area for you and places where you can be very creative. We talked about in the run game, and I talked about earlier, that the number one thing I believe in is balance. Balance, run, and pass. And we've been talking running, so you know that the major emphasis in these tapes has been on the running game. Now, you need the complete package. We talked variety. If you're going to run the football, you need the complete package. I think the complete package includes not only the play-action game, but some reverses, some special reverses that tie into this thing that really keep defenses off balance. And there's 3 or 4 that I think are great reverses. A couple I'm going to talk about earlier. In fact, we'll talk in a few minutes about really the sweep reverse that the 49ers ran to open the Super Bowl, one that we've run before. But the first one is just off our I toss. Remember when we got in the I formation, the lead play was that toss where we ran the toss play. Now what we're going to do is try to come back with a reverse to that wide receiver. If you've got a guy out here that can really run, your Z is an excellent runner with the football. It's great play to run for him. Now, you can do it this way. You can either bring him in motion or you can line him up with a little tighter split and do it. It doesn't have to be. We felt with the motion it tied in so much better because we're doing stuff in motion and cracking him. Now we bring him in motion and do this kind of thing. So We're going to start now with the blocking schemes and how we think it can be done. You tie your quarterback into this now. Tie your quarterback. Remember, before we were talking about the I toss, so everything should look like the I toss. This tight end now is still going to take that same block he had in the toss, but he's going to release it because we got an extra blocker now. Instead of putting the fullback out here, you can do it one of two ways. We felt we could either stay with him and leave the fullback on the strong safety, or we could bump him, put him here, and then put the fullback on here. So for our purposes right now, let's leave it exactly like we blocked the strong toss. Fullback coming through that course right through there, blocking the strong safety. Same block here, don't overreach it. Don't get to where you get any kind of penetration. That guard is going to pull just like he does on the toss, but his responsibility, he's got to look back. He's responsible for that Mike linebacker. Center, just get that little overblock, he's got the nose. Same way if it was an even defense where he was covered, the center overblock and he'd pull or he'd pull. So if it's even, you know how we block that. This guard's going to pull, same way, eyeballing that linebacker, and he's responsible for anything. What we've done on that, if that happens or somebody comes shooting through there, he's protecting that area on his pull. Now this onside tackle to the play side has got the key block on setting the wall for the reverse. Remember what he did on the toss play? We brought him down where he came all the way inside and helped on that nose guard. Now what we want him to do is start down like this. As that defensive end comes upfield chasing the toss and flattens, we want him to peel back around, and he sets the wall for anything that should come off of this thing after the handoff. We're not worried about the weak side linebacker. I'll show you why and how we handle him. The quarterback, every time he's run this toss play, which you should have him doing, is just sort of filter back a little bit after he tosses the ball, because that sets up this toss reverse. Now what we want him to do, as the ball is tossed and handed to the back, and he starts up at an angle a little bit more so we can get the reverse. Now we got that Z, that good runner with the football coming deep. All that quarterback wants to do is he starts, he knows that that off tackle is going to handle anything in here. He's just checking in case there's anything at a deeper depth so we can get this ball outside, then he ends up leading the play. Now, you know, you'll see teams with their quarterback, and they have fun with this. The quarterbacks really enjoy this. Now they become the lead blocker going down the field, whether this guy has run to the toss or there's a safety coming up. He just is looking for anything that shows, and this ex-receiver is responsible for the first force to that side. So everything looks like our 48 toss. We toss the ball, everything looks the same. Now we're coming back with a reverse action, and these people have got to make everything look the same. Just like that tackle, as he comes around on that course, then he comes back. Now, a little point to help you. Remember, we put that tight end on the backer. We put the full. If we are worried about this guy not trailing the play, an answer to that is to have that tight end just bump that guy. Don't worry about the strong safety. Have him bump, go cross field as an extra blocker, and now let that fullback come in, and he'll pick up that filter and strong backer as he comes off, and don't worry about the strong safety. Don't worry about him. Make sure you get this insured. Now you get the extra blocker across. We have also had that center, after he stays with that guy long enough and reverses him, be the next guy coming upfield, so you get a couple cross-field blockers. You got the wall man, a lead blocker, maybe a bonus out of that center late. But don't be in too much of a hurry to do that. You want him to ensure that line of scrimmage, because the worst thing that could happen is penetration and screw up the handoff at the reverse point somewhere back in here. Now, the other alternative to this, or the other answer, and I mention it because it's so important, the other special play, run your 28 toss and just tell this guy to run a fake reverse. We opened a ball game like that in college, and I'll tell you what, had that strong safety and everybody hollering reverse, and here comes the toss man running around the corner. So you're hoping that, like I say, just run the 28 toss, just like we drew it up when we were talking about the I formation. Just say 28 toss, Z, fake the reverse. Nobody else even has to know. Now as he gets the ball, he just sort of makes a token fake, and you run your 28 toss, and everything looks like the toss play, not the reverse. Then the next thing is to come back with the reverse. So if you're an I team, it's a play you need. You need the complement, because you're going to get people flying in there that's coming up to not take that toss play away from you, because they've told, don't let him run the toss. Now the reverse becomes a great play, and as that guy flattens, this guy can mess up the play if that tackle doesn't get there, or he deepens. If he actually deepens and this tackle can't make the block, then it's the quarterback's responsibility to ensure that spot where he might have to get in his way, and then the tackle sees that, and then he turns up in these two reverse positions. But that's all in working on the play and communication between that quarterback and that offensive tackle and how they're going to handle and set that wall so that that man with the ball can at least get to this point and then do something with the football. But it's an excellent play and works in so well with your I formation toss. 28 toss, reverse. All right, now we looked at a reverse play out of the I formation. Let's take the one from the split back set. And we said in the split back attack, the lead play that we had when we were talking about that outside sweep play was our 48 sweep. Now we're going to make it look exactly the same. And the ironic thing about this is the exact play, and we've run it the same sweep reverse play that the 49ers ran in the '89 Super Bowl against Cincinnati with Jerry Rice lined up in that position. Open the game with it. Here's the way the play looks. Now over here, remember, we had that double team coming down, so we're going to start the play exactly the same way. Only thing that tight end as he comes down is going to do, like we talked about that adjustment in the toss reverse. Now he's already coming at that angle to set that end up. He's going cross field as the lead blocker. Okay, the guard pulled on our 48 sweep, pull him and just run him out here and block anything that shows outside that tight end area. Fullback's got that same block. He's running that slant course. He's going to block that guy just like he does on that sweep play to make it look like the sweep. Now the center is going to get a piece of that nose guard, get the outside half of that nose guard, but he's going to get help from that tackle. And then as he gets that nose guard, he's a guy that'll come off late as another blocker to lead the reverse. Okay, the off guard, just like he did on the sweep. He's going to pull, looking for anything coming through, pull and lead it up and seal the front side of that play. The backside tackle now, different than that I reverse. We want him to come down the field, and he's going to just drill that nose guard. We want him to come down and help that center's releases, really cave that nose guard and anything in so that we don't have any problem with somebody peeling off as that center releases. The backside tackle, key block, as we just mentioned. Now, what we want that quarterback, this is the guy that we're hoping to fool. He's the guy that better be chasing that play down the line of scrimmage to try to make the tackle on your halfback on your sweep play. So as the quarterback reverses to that guy and hands the ball to that tailback, now he's kind of drifting back and he becomes the lead blocker down the field with the corner run off or blocked by your split end. So the quarterback becomes a lead blocker just like he did in the I toss. As you hand the ball to that halfback, as the 49ers did in that ball game to Craig, he comes around, here comes that receiver, and it's a double handoff. There's a handoff from the quarterback, there's a handoff here, and then he stretches, and that back is outside with the ball. But everything in the play, basically, it's just as we ran that 48 sweep from the split back attack. And now you got the reverse action off of it with everything looking the same. The nice thing here, that tight end doesn't have to slow block. He can come down at that same angle and just brush that guy, and he's off right now so that if he gets anything from that weak safety or anybody filtering off, and try to get that center into that guy. The minute he feels that tackle coming down, now he can release and flatten down the line and lead that thing upfield. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4 blockers with the quarterback being one on the reverse coming back to the weak side. You need to work a little bit on handing that ball. And the key to that is that back is running with the ball. You don't want him to take that ball and jam it. All you want him to do, like the quarterback does, is insert the ball. Because he's running. Here you got these two trains passing. So the biggest mistake they make is they want to jam that ball and you're getting all that speed going. So all we talk about is I'm running, just lay the ball out there in that other guy's belly as he's coming across. And usually a receiver who's not really a running back, don't have him doing that stuff with his arm, inside arm up and all that. Just let him take it. Just let him take it a real easy way with his hands up. And this is not a pitch to him. This is a handoff. So I got the ball as a running back. I come down, I just lay it right in that basket, and now that back is running. Because the worst thing you'd like to see happen, everything starts and looks good, and here's the handoff, and you lay the ball on the ground on a fumble for a big loss or a possession change. So there's where you got to give the 49ers a lot of credit. Open the game with a misdirection play like this or reverse, and just set the whole tempo for the game. But it's a great play if you're a split back sweep team to come back with a reverse, and if you have a guy that can really run with the football, we love the play. Okay, now we've had the split and the I formation on reverses. Let's take a couple from the fire formation. The reason I've got the two sets up here, I also want to show you, and I think this can be really important where you're not Well, here's one reverse we block this way, here's another one, and there's so many different blocking combinations. Here's two reverses that are almost identical in their blocking pattern, and yet they're a little bit different. One comes off the drop back, the old statue reverse idea. This is one you see the Miami Dolphins run. Actually, this is where we took this play from, and don't ever be afraid to take something from someone else if they do it really well. And this is what we felt. Miami does a great job with it. It's a good reverse off the drop back passing game with the quarterback. And then this one, the other reverse comes off your weak side far reach play that we talked about earlier. All right, let's take a look at this one now. We're going to sell the drop back passing attack. We're going to get the ball to the halfback, and we're going to run a statue reverse back to the strong side of the formation. Here's where the acting takes place. As that tackle sets on the line of scrimmage and takes that defensive end on, the tight end is going to come down in his angle block like they're double teaming, which you'll see sometimes on pass protection. Tight ends come down and nail those defensive ends to help out. Once he does that, and the tackle, you got time because this play actually is going to hit there a little bit later. Now that tackle, as he feels that and is into contact, he's going to come around and he's got the key block on that Sam linebacker, that outside linebacker. And it's just something you got to work on. It can really, if you see it done, it really is amazing how that guy fights down through that, and these two in their combination will block those two. Now on the reverse, the guard as he sets is sitting and taking that nose guard. The center sits, but between these two, they've got those two like they do on slide pass protection. They're responsible on this play to block either that off backer or the nose. So the guard and center are really sliding the protection. So now this guard, as he sets quick, just a quick step, he's going to lead the play and block the force. He's going to lead the play and block the force. Tackle has his normal assignment. He's got to block that weak side or that big defensive end. Now we want this to look like our weak flood action. When we drop back and throw a weak flood, the fullback drives in here. All that back does, though, is takes a quick step, a step or two, and hesitates, and that back is responsible for that outside linebacker, that fullback. Then the back on that step will reverse around, and the quarterback takes his short 5-step. You want him to shorten that drop, and he comes back and shows pass, and then hands the ball to the back coming around on the reverse. So he's coming on the reverse. Z is running him off. Key thing is what happens right here to get that back outside. But the action looks like drop back flood, weak flood. And this guard doesn't have to be in a big hurry. And he knows he's protected. He's got insurance here from that center and guard that they'll handle those two. Good pass protection here. Everything should be secure. We get the guard on the strong safety. Z running him off. You can even get where you switch if it's a roll type thing where he kicks out the corner, he goes to number 2. That depends on how you want to do that and if you want to teach that. Remember, it doesn't happen right now. It's a little bit slower hitting play to get here. The quarterback drops. Now you got the reverse technique, and that back can just set in there like he's going to block and then reverse pivot and come around and take the ball from the quarterback as he runs the reverse action. Statue reverse strong off the drop back attack. It's great because these guys should be dropping into pass, and now you got that back coming around the corner. Now, the reason I drew this one up, watch how similar. Now we're going to run a reverse out of the far, and we're going to give the ball to that X receiver, whoever he happens to be, the guy with some speed running a reverse back to the strong side. Over here, the technique is the same, but it's more of a run technique. We want that same technique we used here. Bang, bang, and then reverse that Sam linebacker. Get him blocked. Now, on this one, the only thing we're not going to do is we're not going to make these two responsible for those two. All we're going to do on this, because we got the fullback filling, he's going to just solid block. He's responsible for that backer to run him by the hole because the reverse is going to come the other way. So he's going to block the Mike linebacker. Center is on the nose, so instead of that, we're just manning it up here. Guard, same technique as here. He's going to pull, and he's leading the play. In combination with that Z, they're going to block whatever the force happens to be on that side. That tackle on the backside is drive blocking that inside number of that end. Now the halfback is blocking outside. As the quarterback makes the fake to the fullback on his course, he's responsible to fill, and then we pitch this ball to that X coming around. So this comes off your reach play, your weak side reach play. We're making that, again, you may have to tighten that split down. What you should do some on the reach play, you should tighten it down. Tighten it down now. He just takes a drop step and he's going. Now the technique of the quarterback, as that quarterback makes the good fake in here, as he fakes that ball to the fullback, then it's just a soft, dead pitch to that back coming. So he reverse pivots, he fakes, and he lays the ball. About the time that back is right there, the thing we found, throw the ball just real easy, dead pitch right in front. So that back should actually catch the ball about over that guard area with a good fake and then pitch it to him, because you want to sell and freeze these people right here. And now everything happens right in that area right there. You got enough blockers. You got that outside backer hook. You got that guard coming around on the safety. You got that Z running him off or working combinations on blocking that, and it can be a great play. Now you got one to the Z receiver, two on the toss, or on your sweep reverse, you got one to your X receiver, depending on which one you like best, and you've got plays off the I, off the far, and off the split back to run reverses. I think they're critical in teams that are full flow. You get teams that really run and are very aggressive defensively. These kind of plays can make the difference in a ball game. And I have recollection of, again, watching that Super Bowl, watching us against Ohio State in the Rose Bowl and running a reverse to a young little receiver we have, the name of Randy Vitale, off the toss reverse. I have recollection of faking the reverse and seeing them run. So I think they're important, and they're an important element into your game. So don't neglect this area. Make sure if you've got a great running play from that formation, you've got a great misdirection play, and that comes off a super looking reverse.